Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Q&A on Coin Bureau Clips. As you can see, the sofa next to me is a little bit empty because the rest of the Coin Bureau team has already flown home for Christmas. So happy holidays to everyone that's watching. If you're celebrating, I hope you have a fantastic time, and we hope next year is going to be equally fruitful and possibly a little bit more of a pizzazz to our cryptocurrency wallets. Let's see. A big thank you to everyone that has sent some questions in. We've got some good ones today. So we'll be discussing some of the GameFi narratives. Litecoin has also come up, Bitcoin halving, Solana, and cryptocurrency events. So a lot to dive through for today. Starting off, I'm going to start nice and easy. VEE has asked what my favorite Christmas song is. And that is a very easy one to answer. It's Fairy Tale of New York. It's an absolute classic. So let me know yours in the comments. That's the last Christmas question, I promise. Now we're diving into some of the juicy stuff. We're talking crypto. So we have a few questions about Litecoin, and I've compressed them all so we can hit them all in one go. Is Litecoin severely undervalued? Litecoin when? And is a Litecoin ETF likely? And that's from Think CD. So starting off, is Litecoin severely undervalued? Litecoin's performance this year has been lackluster, to say the least. So just for some context, Litecoin is up 13% on the year. When you compare that to Bitcoin's 160% increase or Ethereum's 76% increase year on year, it is a little slow, especially when you remember that Litecoin, for those that were here in 2017, oh my goodness, Litecoin was the showstopper coin. Litecoin rose to all-time highs of $301 in December 2017. And then fast forward to 2021 bull market, we did see it started to lose some steam and momentum. It only hit a high of $345 in the next bull market. And this year is quite a good example of it just seems to be running out of momentum when it comes to price. I do believe there is upward price potential for Litecoin for a few reasons, which I'll run through in just a second. But compared to its counterparts, we're not seeing the gains that we saw back in 2017. So here's some of the reasons why Litecoin could potentially go up in the coming 2024 next year. So first of all, Litecoin hit quite a big milestone last month. Litecoin hit its 180 millionth transaction, which shows people are still using the network. And that is a very big testament to Litecoin. It's been one of the longest standing cryptocurrencies, and that is an achievement to say the least. Also, there is possibilities of a Litecoin ETF, which it makes sense. Where this is the question also, is a Litecoin ETF likely? I would say it is. So first of all, we're seeing that if a Bitcoin ETF gets approved, let's say in Q1 of 2024, it will pave the way for other cryptocurrency ETFs. Litecoin is still considered this blue chip crypto, 12 years of uptime in the industry. And also we have seen financial institutions start to recognize Litecoin as a cryptocurrency. So PayPal, for example, they added Litecoin when it launched, and it kind of validated Litecoin's status as a trusted coin. Another interesting thing to know is Grayscale, as we know, is planning to convert its Bitcoin trust into an ETF, and Grayscale also have a Litecoin trust. So a logical next step for Grayscale would be to convert their Litecoin trust into a Litecoin ETF. So those are some of the things that I think would cause a price movement or fluctuation in 2024. However, that being said, if you do look at the Litecoin Bitcoin chart and you measure Litecoin against Bitcoin, the valuation from 2013 is down 93%, which just shows it would have fared you much better as an investor to hold Bitcoin rather than Litecoin. And the same is true for Litecoin against Ethereum. The valuation over the last 4 years, Litecoin is down around 90% against Ethereum. There is also possible volatility around the Litecoin halving. So we did see a Litecoin halving in August of this year. We did see Litecoin reach highs of around $115 in anticipation of the halving. There is volatility around that time, but the halving this year was pretty much a sell the news event. The next halving is expected to take place in July 2027. So some volatility, short-term trades around then. And then if we see some larger news announcements for Litecoin, I haven't got it on a watch list for this year when it comes to significantly overvalued and the price potential that we'll see back in 2017. But who knows? Let's see. Okay, next question we have is from Jurka K1991. And I'm sorry if I've mispronounced that name. I find these Instagram handles are very creative, guys. So Exodus Wallet, is it safe? I personally use Exodus Wallet for some cryptocurrency holdings, and I know other members of the Coin Bureau team do too. It's very user-friendly, it's very feature-rich. So if you are looking for a cryptocurrency wallet, if your New Year's resolution is to up your self-custody game, I would recommend Exodus. Is it safe is the big question. So Exodus has a good security record with no recorded hacks or breaches to date. And they also have partnered with hardware wallets like Trezor to integrate and enhance storing your keys offline. And there's a few things that stand out for me as some of the reasons why I like Exodus. First of all, it's really user-friendly. It's the kind of wallet that I could tell my mum to go and download and store her crypto on. And Lynn, if you're watching, I'll show you when I'm home for Christmas. But it's really user-friendly. It supports 360 cryptocurrencies and NFTs. And also, it's a feature that allows you to swap in-app, which means you don't need to move your funds from your wallet to a cryptocurrency centralized exchange in order to make those trades, which means you can react faster if you do want to swap or reallocate. Also, you're removing any risk for error because you're not moving your crypto around as much. So I would definitely advise you to look into it. We actually have quite a few videos on the main channel on cryptocurrency storage and our recommended hints and tips. So I will link that video down below for you guys to go and have a little look. Okay, next question is from Tough Cracker, which is, can you explain proof of authority? So proof of authority is very different to proof of work and proof of stake. The term proof of authority was introduced by Gavin Wood, who is the co-founder of Ethereum, back in 2017. And in a different way to proof of stake and proof of work, proof of authority, there is a chosen group of trusted validators. So it is a permissioned blockchain where people will invite you. If you're a validator, you will invite someone to join the network. They will then typically have to submit documentation to show their true identity and almost a KYC process. So if you are in proof of authority, this is you are a trusted member of the network. You are someone that has been pre-approved. You are not anonymous and you are not just anyone can join. Whereas with proof of stake, for example, anyone can join and contribute to the network. So validators are required to reveal their true identity to the team. Now, this does have benefits when it comes to if you are a private blockchain, you are a business that wants to build on the network, you know that everyone that is contributing is someone that's been approved. If anyone is doing any malicious activity within the network, you can then go after them in legal filings if you need to. So you know completely who is taking part and who's contributing. So it does add a safety element to your blockchain. However, it does jeopardize the risk of decentralization. So this is typically something which is used for businesses that care more about a private blockchain with speed and security rather than the element of decentralization. A good example of an entity and network that uses proof of authority is VeChain. So VeChain has 101 validators. So the risk of VeChain going down or being jeopardized in any way is very minimal because you would need to control or manipulate 52 of those validators. As they're different companies and individuals around the world, it kind of seems like it's a more secure option. So it is an option that's out there, but as I've said, it does lack in terms of decentralized elements. And there also are Ethereum testnets that use proof of authority too, so Goerli and Rinkeby. I hope that helps.
We interrupt this programme for an emergency crypto weather forecast. Get ready for a whirlwind of savings. We're seeing some high-pressure sign-up bonus systems forming in the northeast, with some exchanges offering up to $40,000. In the south, we'll be seeing some heavy discounts on hardware wallets, so watch out for those if you're going to be out and about. And then in central areas, there's a high chance of trading fee discounts, which should be settling in later on, so be on the lookout for up to 60% off there. Lush! For a more comprehensive forecast, just visit coinbureau.com/deals or use the link down in the description. These deals are red hot, so make sure to take all the necessary precautions. Well, that's all for today's forecast. Now back to the scheduled programme.
We have Lorenzo Messina who asked, how did you get started in crypto? So I actually got started in crypto because I was working in Switzerland for a Swiss Forex bank as a journalist and reporter. And around 2015, I was in my early 20s and I was interviewing numerous people a day that were from the TradFi space. And people were starting to come to me to say, I have left my TradFi job and I'm moving over into crypto. So my first interview that I had carried out on the blockchain technology behind Bitcoin was with a dear friend who was previously a hedge fund trader that had moved into the fund side to set up his own cryptocurrency organization. And Switzerland was really progressive at the time. FINMA was working really closely with certain cryptocurrency organizations. A little fun fact for you, if you were based in Switzerland at the time, you'll remember this too, you could actually buy your train tickets in Switzerland using cryptocurrency. It was really, really interesting. And the organization that I worked with was also very curious about crypto. So we would host some cryptocurrency events. I have this moment that is still ingrained in my mind where we were hosting an event. John Matonis from the Bitcoin Association was there, and he was talking about Bitcoin adoption. And I remember saying to my colleagues, I won't buy any Bitcoin yet because it's $500 a Bitcoin and that's just too expensive for me. And I still look back and just think, it's never too late to get involved in crypto and start your journey. And I was fascinated by it. I thought it was a very, very interesting way to democratize finance. And I wanted to learn more and made it my mission to go and represent cryptocurrency conferences around Europe at the time and cover cryptocurrencies. So I had the pleasure of interviewing a lot of people very early on. I've watched quite a few of those people move on to do pretty remarkable things in this space, and best decision to leave TradFi and move into crypto. If anyone does have any questions about moving full-time into cryptocurrency, feel free to DM me on Twitter, because this is something that I always enjoy helping people advocate and looping people in together. And next question, do you think GameFi will be a big narrative next cycle? And that's from Javidad Iqbal. Yes, GameFi is certainly one to watch next cycle. I think GameFi has always held a really strong narrative and use case within the cryptocurrency sphere, because if you think about games, they have their own economies, they have their own ecosystem. So to add a tokenized element into that, it really will just help the industry thrive. There are a few gaming tokens that I have on my watch list, and I've covered this in previous videos before. There's actually a new gaming token that I have added to my watch list recently, and that is Decimated, which is partnered with Fracture Labs. So Decimated has the ticker DIO, and it's like an open world survival game. I'm not going to pretend that I play the games, guys, because I don't. However, I am keeping an eye on this one. So recently, it's been trending on the Gecko terminal and DEX tracking platforms. It seems like it's really been one to watch. So it is called Decimated. It is up 113% month on month, built on Solana, which is interesting to note. And it's been really trending in the ecosystems of play to earn, metaverse, GameFi, and Solana ecosystems. There is very low exchange exposure on this one. So Decimated is available on Radium, Gate.io, HTX, and Jupiter. There is a possibility that it will go cross-chain in the future on the likes of Ethereum and Polygon using the Bridge Wormhole protocol. And actually, I know the CEO, Stephen Arnold, from Malta. So Stephen has been building Decimated since 2018 when I first met him. And the in-game graphics look amazing. And I just think, well done. You've been working really hard for this. Building a cryptocurrency game, or any game, is not an easy feat. It takes years and years and years, and it's finally at a stage where it's coming to market, and it has very low exchange exposure. So if it does get listed on a centralized exchange soon, that could be interesting. There's a few others. Engine, Gala, and Mutable X are also on my watch list too. Okay, next question is thoughts on Render. Do you hold any? And that's by Eduardo Dreamer. I don't hold any Render. However, I have been watching Render. And also, if you watch the cryptocurrency news roundup, you'll notice that Render was one of the tokens that we did cover quite a few times over the last few months when it comes to being some of the top gainers that we saw. There is one thing that stands out quite interestingly for me from Render, and that is the founder. So the founder has a really interesting background. So he's got over 25 years of experience in the industry, which is monumental to say the least. He created the web's first 3D video game at the age of 18 and licensed it to major companies like Disney and Warner Brothers. And his goal is to really revolutionize the 3D content. So it uses shared computer technology. It's currently ranking 45th on CoinMarketCap. The reason I'm not holding any at the moment and I've not got in is because it's already up over 800% year to date. And I just can't bring myself to get in on a token when it's already gained that much. That being said, there is some really strong social activity supporting Render. So there is a site that I would recommend everyone check out. It does have a free option of the tool and it's called Luna Crush. And it's quite an interesting data platform for monitoring social activity. So social activity will cover everything from upvotes on the likes of Reddit, retweets, replies, new followers, social activity, social sentiment surrounding a network or a specific token. And Render has been ranking quite highly in, I would say, top 6 or 7 for DeFi projects by social activity for this quarter. So Uniswap is really leading the way with social activity. Solana is up there as well. ADA, XRP, Link, Render, Loom, and Avalanche. These are all the top ones for people to keep an eye out. So people know what Render is about. People are watching it. And yes, I would advise people to take a little look at Luna Crush if you are curious about the social activity metric. It's quite an interesting one to dive into. Next question, what happens to Bitcoin if a BTC ETF is rejected? And that's by Rawad Tuma. Now, I've seen some people wondering about this, and this has been a question mark for a majority of 2023. What will happen if we do see a Bitcoin ETF rejection, and will we see a retracement in the markets afterwards? I would be really surprised if it does get rejected. I think in Q3, there was a bit of a concern because we weren't seeing so much evidence that it was fully going to go ahead. The main evidence we saw was the likes that BlackRock has a huge success rate. BlackRock has a 99.8% success rate of an ETF approval. It's one of the biggest asset management firms, and it's only had one application rejected by the SEC, and 575 have been approved. So that was the only real narrative that we were gripping our teeth onto. And aside from that, there wasn't much other cause for all steams ahead. Since then, we have seen some other indicators that a spot Bitcoin ETF in Q1 approval is very likely. So we saw that BlackRock has started to seed for this investment. They've started to receive funds. They received $100,000 moving towards the spot Bitcoin ETF. And also the company disclosed its most recent amendment to the S1 filing in December. So these institutions are starting to adapt their filings based on open conversations that they are having with the SEC. They're also starting to receive funds for this. We've seen Bloomberg analysts James Seyfarth and Eric have been advocating and representing, giving us so much information about spot Bitcoin ETF. I can imagine the last 6 months have been extremely busy for those two. They seem to be doing statements every other day. They said there's a 90% chance of a spot Bitcoin ETF approval on the 10th of January. That's when I believe ARK Invest or one of the other asset managers is likely to get, is waiting for approval. And we're expecting to see multiple approvals at once to make it a fair market. Bitwise also, I'm not sure if you saw, Bitwise released their advert for a spot Bitcoin ETF. Has anyone seen the advert? If you have, please let me know. The mixed reviews on Twitter, actually. So the advert came out earlier this week, and it is an older gentleman, some would say a silver fox, that wouldn't be, sitting in what looks like a cigar bar, and he's kind of saying, you know what's interesting these days? Bitcoin. And some people are saying it's a great advert. Some people are saying, is that all the money Bitwise had for the advert? It seems like their advertising budget was fairly low, probably because legal costs were higher to get the spot Bitcoin ETF approved. Either way, we are seeing advertisements for cryptocurrency on mainstream media. So it's a big win for the space. So like I've said, all of these factors here are pointing to an indication that a spot Bitcoin ETF will be approved in the very near future. So now let's look at the other side of the argument, where if we don't get a spot Bitcoin ETF approval and we're not really sure where the industry is going to go from here, we still have a lot of hype on the Bitcoin network, more so in the past few weeks, everyone has been going crazy for Bitcoin ordinals. So we saw in a single day, miners earned $9.9 million just from Bitcoin ordinal base fees. Bitcoin transactions have skyrocketed to 20-month highs, fueled by trading of BRC20 tokens and ordinals. Miners are really capitalizing in on this trend. So on the 17th of December, miner revenue hit $64 million, the highest since Bitcoin's all-time high in November 2021. This is December. What's happening in April? Around April the 17th, we're seeing the Bitcoin halving. So in the next 4 months, that is expected to put quite a lot of enthusiasm potentially in the network. And let's see where things go. I do think there is enough narrative supporting Bitcoin at the moment that if we do see a retracement, it's not going to be the end of the world. Next, tell us more about a strategy of taking profits this bull market. And that's from Sebarsu. Okay, so a strategy of taking profits in the bull market. This is a really good question because it's a difficult emotional break from you and your portfolio when it comes to when to take profits, when to sell, how frequently to do so. And after you've done so, should you consider looking at prices or should you just look away? It's really difficult to emotionally attach from your portfolio and from the tokens that you're holding. I would say the best strategy to do is to have an idea of a slight time frame and a slight price point, which is a good exit for you. Write it down, keep it as a memory so you can keep checking back, and then dollar cost average out of that investment. So Benjamin Cohen, if you watch Not Financial Advice, the show with Guy, Ben, and Rob, he in the Cryptoverse data platform, they have a tool which allows you to evaluate your DCA out of crypto, which is an interesting one. I think that is a really good way to help you emotionally detach from your investments and a way to help you keep on track, because there is nothing worse than riding tokens all the way up and then watching them go all the way back down. It happened to me in 2017 and it's a really difficult thing to opt out of. It's easy to get into crypto, it's easy to buy it, but to sell it is something that a lot of people that I know, a lot of industry friends struggle with. So make sure you view it as a business plan. You don't scave away from it. You leave this year and 2024 with some profits in hand. Otherwise, why are we all here, guys? Okay, Martin Luther has asked my crypto investments and my crypto portfolio and my crypto philosophy. So in the Coin Bureau Club, if you guys have signed up already, you will be able to see myself and the other team members and guys' crypto portfolio. You'll be able to see what we hold and also when we make updates. We also have a update blog where we can share why we've reallocated or why we've moved things around. Personally, I'm pretty happy with my portfolio at the moment. I've got kind of 2% in AI, SportFi, SocialFi, telecoms on the blockchain is an interesting narrative that I'm looking into as well. And then Arbitrum, TON, Pith, and then some of the larger tokens, Atom, Solana, ETH, and Bitcoin. Ethereum and Bitcoin are my largest holdings. I'm pretty happy with the amount of ETH and Bitcoin that I have at the moment. I'm not looking to allocate those to smaller cap gems. I would rather play it safe and just kind of hodl. I am not a trader, I'm more of a longer term investor. But like I've said, if you do go over to Coin Bureau Club, you can see a little bit more of the whys of what we're buying and also when we're buying it. Next up, we have thoughts on RWA Coins. Do you think this sector will be successful overall? Short answer is yes. Real world asset coins is something that has been spoken about for quite a few years, but it's a narrative that is really picking up at the moment. The larger cap example that really has made some huge price swings at the moment is Chainlink. So Chainlink has positioned itself as a really key piece of infrastructure, connecting blockchains to the outside world, and is really profiting from this RWA real world asset narrative. So Chainlink's price in the last 2 months up 2x from $7.30 to around $14.60. There's an interesting report by K33. It was a research report that came out this week, and it was covering how Chainlink was this safe bet for real world asset investments. Because what it is really seeing is this connection between the two worlds, bridging the financial institutions to blockchain. And we are going to be doing a video which is reviewing the K-3 report on the main channel. So I advise you to go and have a little look. It does dive into some of the other narratives that are trending for 2024. Let's move back into real world assets and why they could be interesting. So I spoke with Chris Bartlett, who is the head of partnerships at Chainlink, on a call a few months ago because we're working pretty hard to get Sergey on the channel for an interview. I will keep you posted if we can make that happen. And it's open knowledge that they are working with a handful of financial institutions and banks with their CCIP rollout. And that's something which is in play already. They have numerous banks and financial institutions under their belt that are adopting the Chainlink network and ecosystem. So bridging financial institutions to blockchain, like I've said, we've also got other tokens, Pendle and Maple. There's also the other elements of real world assets on the blockchain, like we have seen real estate and land ownership. It's also quite an interesting narrative at play. So there are some examples there, land share and property. So yes, to a narrative that we'll see more of in the next few months. Chainlink is the only one that I'm personally watching, but if you guys are watching any more, let me know in the comments. Okay, so next question. Do you see a dip in Sol if FTX would start liquidating its Sol holdings? Very good question. First of all, Solana this year has just been euphoric. I think it's 460% up on the year. So congratulations to all the Sol holders out there. I would say, yes, we would see a dip to a certain extent, but Solana's ecosystem is extremely strong at the moment. It's not something that I am personally worried about. I hold Solana. I've been accumulating Solana over the year, and I am not using it as a cause for concern or FUD to stay away from adopting more of the token in my bags. So we have seen daily active users, transaction volume remaining really consistently steady. The high mature technology and developer community around Solana is pretty exceptional. We had Austin Federa, who's head of strategy at Solana, come on to Coinbureau Clips in October, just after their Breakpoint conference in Netherlands. And some of the existing ecosystems that are being built within Solana, which he does share in the interview, are really interesting to say the least. We're also reaching an absolute new state of degen at the moment, where we're seeing Solana and BRC20 meme coins just dominate the scene. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean, because I think this shows that we're expanding out of the kind of the FUD narratives from the likes of FTX and, as we mentioned earlier, spot Bitcoin ETFs. The degen community is starting to thrive and kind of bubble again. So I'm not sure who here was holding the Solana Saga phone or who was looking into it. It was something that we kind of viewed as a bit of a non-event. It was overlooked, I have to admit. But after months of fairly slow sales for the Solana phone, it is now sold out everywhere, to the point that on eBay, Solana's phone is going for around $5,000. The reason for this is because the Solana phone inside is built in with an airdrop of 30 million bonk tokens, meaning people realized last week that with the huge increase in price of bonk, that the phone was technically free. You would make more money with the surge in bonk prices, and it was more valuable than the device itself. Now, I'm nosy, so I had a little bit of a look. I did the maths from bonk's all-time high last week. If you bought the Solana phone with the intention of getting the airdrop, at the all-time high of bonk's price last week, times by 30 million, which is the amount of tokens airdropped into the Saga phone, you would have got over $1,015 worth of airdrop tokens, which is pretty impressive. And if people thought bonk was going to go higher, maybe 5x, even more, we can understand why the Solana Saga phone has been selling for so high on eBay. I personally haven't put it on my Christmas list, but if it's on your Christmas list, guys, I think it's going to be pretty hard to get your hands on. So overall, is Solana still a kind of a lucrative investment? Would you see a dip in Solana prices if FTX would start liquidating its Sol holdings? Yeah, you would see some selling pressure from FTX that would impact the price. However, the narrative is really strong for Solana as an ecosystem, and we are seeing more bullish examples of the Solana network. We also had Jack Sells MD ask us Solana new all-time highs. First of all, Jack, very interesting username. I'm not sure if your mum knows you have that username, but that's not none of my business. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see new all-time highs for Solana based on some of the bullish narratives that we are seeing and the Solana degens come out and represent it in full force. Next up, we have what good crypto events next year, and that is asked by Milligan. This is a great question. I love cryptocurrency conferences. I think cryptocurrency conferences are a great way for you to hear on the ground about new developments. If you are looking to move to work into crypto or to build your network, cryptocurrency conferences are a great way to do so. And also just to be able to see what's going on in real time. So if you guys will recall, Solana had a quite significant pump around the time of the Solana Breakpoint conference. We saw similar when it comes to Chainlink and their conference in October. These were all times where you do see the network make new announcements when it comes to upgrades, developments, advancements in the ecosystem. So if you are advocating or building on specific networks and chains, it's a good idea to go along to these things and just be able to see what progress is being made. That being said, outside of that, to be able to hear some of the speakers give some industry alpha is great for all. So here are a few conferences based on wherever you are in the world. We have 2 from Europe, 1 from the US and 1 from the UAE. So starting the year off, we have CFC, St. Moritz in January. And this is in collaboration with Algorand. So we've got John Woods from Algorand, CTO, Eric Voorhees from Shapeshift, CME Group, Anthony Scaramucci from Skybridge Capital, and Fidelity Investments will all be attending and speaking at that conference. So this is more kind of institutional investments into crypto and blockchain and Web3. Still very interesting if you are based around Switzerland. Paris Blockchain Week in April. I had some network industry friends that went this year, and they said great things about it. They said it was a really thriving conference, a lot of interesting companies and organizations attended. So that is taking place on the 8th to the 12th of April. So we're seeing speakers from the likes of Richard Tang, the CEO of Binance, the Circle CEO, Yoni Assia, the CEO of eToro, and that's also one to mark in your calendar. Bitcoin Nashville, 25th of July to the 27th. I went to Bitcoin Amsterdam earlier this year. The speakers, the stage production was incredible. Bitcoin Amsterdam is the European version. Normally, the US version is Bitcoin Miami, which I have heard, I've not been, I've heard it is an absolute party. So Bitcoin Nashville has a lot to live up to, but it sounds like it would be a lot of fun. And in Dubai, there is Token 2049, which is the 18th and the 19th of April. Now, this is an interesting date to have a conference because it's one day after the expected halving. So I'm hoping sentiment is going to be high. There's going to be a lot of interesting conversations to be having there. For those of the team members that went to Token 2049 in Singapore, they came back bullish AF because there was around 10,000 delegates. It was their indication that the kind of bull market was on the way based on the amount of companies and exhibition booths that they saw. So for Token 2049 in Dubai, we have Sandeep from Polygon speaking, Paolo from Tether, we have Arthur Hayes, Roger Ver from Bitcoin.com, and Sergey Nazarov from Chainlink. That's just to name a few. The speaker lineup is extensive. And last but not least, this is just a nice little fun one. Where in England are you from? And this is from Kevin Hennock. So Kevin, little fun fact, I am half English, half Scottish, but grew up in Wales. So from my mum's side, she's from Glasgow. My dad's side of the family is from Yorkshire. And I grew up just outside of Cardiff. I'm not sure if you guys know, but you have to speak Welsh in schools until you're 16 if you are growing up in Wales. So I'll end with how to say Merry Christmas in Welsh for you all. You can say Merry Christmas in Welsh by saying Nadolig Llawen. So thank you guys. Merry Christmas. Diolch yn fawr. That's thank you in Welsh. As you can tell, it's completely different to English. It's a wild language. Thank you so much for watching my first solo Q&A. And I hope you all have happy holidays if you're celebrating. And we really look forward to seeing you all in the new year. There will be a lot of exciting updates and things to talk about. So we'll see you then.